Today's video is on children's rights and teenager rights and in defense of kids. And I'm going to be arguing that in most countries, even the Western world and all the first world nations, we don't actually have children's rights as a real thing. It's just something we give lip service to. Okay? Now, if your parents are someone who just don't friggin' get it, maybe this is a good video to send to them. If you're a kid watching this video and your parents just are clueless, maybe this is a good video to send to them, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is this concept of non-consent, all right? We say kids can't consent to anything. Well, can they consent against something? All right, so when a kid says, I do not want to do this, I do not want to do this, this is the worst thing ever, please do not make me do this. In general, the reaction we have is, ha ha ha, oh, those silly kids, we'll just force them to do it anyways, right? Now that is a very dark and imperialistic mindset here, okay? This is extremely likely to produce trauma, all right? Kids are very sensitive beings. When you force them to do something extremely against their will, this is a recipe for trauma and disaster, all right? Now, I hope Mike is watching this video here. He's a child psychologist. I'd like to hear what he has to say about this. He has extensive experience with kids, and I think he's going to agree probably that the research and his own experience back up what I'm saying. Now, the second thing I want to look at here is this concept of why do people actually have kids in the first place? We never ever discuss this. But I ask everybody why they're having a kid. And the reasons are stupid, stupid, stupid. Okay? Maybe there's some research about this, but I get two answers that are almost universal. Answer number one, I want someone to take care of me when I'm old. What? If you want someone to take care of you when you're old, save up some money and hire a caregiver. Don't have a kid, because the reality is your kid might not take care of you when you're old anyways. Your kid might move to a different country. They might die. They might just dislike you and not want to care for you, right? And you might end up having to pay them a bunch of money to do it anyways, right? Just hire a caregiver. That's an infinitely more sensible solution, all right? Now, the second reason people have kids is they want a icon, all right? They want this miniature version of themselves who is like a clone of themselves, and they think by creating this clone, it's going to make them live on, right? It's like if I have this copy of myself who's alive, my genetics and my bloodline live on, and therefore I live on. This is also a very, very ignorant and irrational argument, okay? So genetically speaking, you know, your brother and sister is actually a lot closer to you than your kid is. Your kid's, you know, more like 40% your mom's genes, 40% your genes, and I don't know, maybe 20% random meiosis gene shuffling, okay? So a lot of people just don't understand that. You know, there's a reason you're not identical to your brother. Your brother's not a clone of you because your parents' sex cells underwent this process called meiosis, all right? So you might want to learn about these things if you're going to base all your decisions on passing on your genes, right? So this argument makes no sense. It's a lot like when people say, I want to leave a legacy. You know, I want to be remembered as great after I die. What? You're not going to be alive after you're dead. And so what are parents actually trying to do at a fundamental level? What parents are trying to do is steer kids in these directions. They're trying to turn them into this old age caregiver. They're trying to turn them into this copy of themselves. And this is why we don't treat children with these basic respect. Because the very reason they had the kid in the first place was selfish. Selfish, selfish, selfish. All right? These are totally selfish reasons to have kids. and they're totally stupid reasons to have kids. So if you raise your kid, out of selfishness and stupidity, chances are you're not raising them very well, right? Chances are you're not treating them with the respect and love they deserve. Okay? So that's my first point here. Now, next, we always talk about and give all these reasons why it's okay to treat children badly. We justify our selfishness through these other irrational propositions. Okay, so like one thing we always say is children are so cruel. Adults are much more sophisticated and respectful. Well, when we actually look more closely, adults don't have the best track record. Adults did the Holocaust. Adults do genocide. Adults do systematic slavery. All right? The list goes on. All right? And I don't think this is something that, like, kids will take well to. I think kids are very sensitive and against violence. When I was a kid, I was taken into one of these wax museums where they have these torture chambers, and it was a very traumatic and horrible experience for me. I did not like that one bit, right? So, there's all this. And then secondly, we use children being stupid as a justification to always override their will. We always use this as a justification to violate their consent. Children are not stupid. They are uneducated. They are ignorant. That doesn't mean they're stupid. And in a lot of ways, they're actually much smarter than adults are. Okay? Children have this thing called curiosity. Now, if you ask somebody smart, is curiosity important? They're going to tell you, yes, it is very, very, very important. Glenn Borkard is a scientist. He's a very smart guy. He says most of intelligence is just curiosity. Okay? Being able to see things from different perspectives and analyze them is just as important, if not more important, than brain processing power. Okay? Now, it is true, adults may have more brain processing power, but they almost always have little to no curiosity. And this is very problematic. And this makes it very, very difficult for them to learn. They become very, very arrogant and intellectually rigid, right? Teenagers have both a mixture of brain processing power and curiosity. I think teenagers are actually some of the smartest age group of people, all right? And I think it's good to, not be so bossy around children. You shouldn't order kids around so much, right? We shouldn't always be violating their consent all the time, right? And I think when we actually treat children with respect, they tend to respect you. They tend to see you as somebody who is worthy of respect, and they tend to actually care what you have to say, all right? A lot of the reason why kids are rebellious and disobedient is because they don't respect you. They don't think that you love or care about them in any meaningful way, so why should they care or respect what you have to say, right? And, I'm just saying, when we treat our kids with respect and intelligence, we are going to produce a future generation that is smart and respectful, okay? I think we do not treat children with the adequate respect they deserve, and I think we definitely don't treat teenagers with this respect. When we lump teenagers into this children category and we treat them identically to children, this is even worse, okay? Because teenagers are both smart and curious. They might be some of the smartest among us, right? So, okay, well, let me know your thoughts